Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition. This is going to be a new LP for the channel. I've played this game quite a few times, so this isn't going to be blind. Also, apologies, you won't be able to see my mouse cursor. There's a bug with the current version of Shadowplay, or I suppose the current version of GeForce Experience, I guess technically. That means that the cursor isn't being recorded during gameplay, which is kind of really annoying, but hopefully they'll fix it sooner or later. But we're going to be playing through the entirety of the story game of this game, and we're going to be playing on Tactician mode. I'm not going to do Honor mode, I'm just going to do regular, because honestly to win on Honor mode is permadeath by the way, but to win on Honor mode is kind of... you have to cheese the game essentially. Alright, we're back. So, this is what we've got so far. I've changed its appearance a little bit. I've also gone around, I've started with the Conjurer class, although I've modified it out of that. The reason I've done that is just because that determines your starting weapon. So I want a shield and a wand at the start of the game, so I've gone with this and then I've changed it around so that I instead have Hydro and Necro, which is essentially the build for a... what are they called? Paladin or something or other? Anyway, Hydrosophist and Necromancer, and I've got some bartering in there as well. We have Restoration, Hailstrike, and Mosquito Swarm as our starting skills. Talents, we got Lone Wolf, because that's actually kind of important. Tags, Noble, Scholar, he always has those too. And instruments, we're gone for Cello. I'll listen to the origin story of the Red Prince, because it's actually fairly relevant, because we're going to be going through it.
Famed, of course, for my unique red skin and unparalleled skills as a general of the House of War, I, the Red Prince, was raised within the vast palaces of the fabled Forbidden City. I was destined to become the next emperor. But my ambitions suffered a bit of a setback when I fell from grace for cavorting with demons. Now, I'm exiled and hunted by assassins. But I assure you, I remain undaunted and as determined as ever to claim my rightful throne.
Alright, so we have a prince that cavorted with demons. And hence got kicked out of his kingdom. Yes, I am done with character creation.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
Alright. So, that's not entirely clear if you're unfamiliar with the story of this game. Or, I suppose, the story of the first game. You would kind of get it a bit more if you're familiar with the universe. The only real notable thing I'll point out, the rest will be explained as we go through, but the only real thing that's worth noting there is the fact that source magic is different to just regular magic. It is a, like, separated and different idea behind it.
Still a bit groggy, are we? Don't worry. The sedative will wear off soon enough. Easy now. No need to hurry. Get your bearings and report to me upstairs.
I don't have to do voice acting in this game, which is awesome. Well, I have to do very minimal voice acting anyway, because it has a lot of voice acted lines. An insane amount, in fact. Must have cost them a fortune.
awake, wooden boards and iron shackles. The Divine Order's hospitality leaves much to be desired indeed.
Indeed. So I'm... just out of habit, I'm going to be looting absolutely everything around here. Honestly, you don't have to. And indeed, I would arguably suggest against it, because you don't really need any of this stuff. I'm just grabbing it because... well, I like having money at the start of the game, so I'm going to be looting as much shit as possible. Rubbish. But I'm going to try and go through fairly quickly, particularly through this tutorial section. I will loot a bunch of stuff on the way, but I'm going to consciously try not to loot everything. I'm going to be looting like kind of the big boxes and big chests and things like that. And elsewise I'm going to be ignoring things for the most part. That note on that table literally just says, hey, put blocks on here. Or, put blocks on here and you can open the door.
That click. This floor plate triggered something.
Look at that.
You there. Come here. Hey. Hey. Get me out of this cage and I'll make it worth your while.
Demand to know what exactly it's in it for you.
Set me free and I'll set you free. A fair trade, I should think.
I am carefully. Why is he in this cage in the first
Your guess
place?
is as good as mine. Someone screamed loud as a banshee. After that, pure pandemonium. They never even told me what I was accused of. Just dragged me down here.
I'll agree to help.
A gentleman among jesters, you are. Give that lever a pull, and I guarantee we'll both get something out of the deal.
Before you can even touch the lever, you hear a sniff and snort behind you as the snoring Magister mumbles himself awake. One bloodshot eye opens, and then another.
The narrator in this game, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. I love him.
Is my shift over? You here to relieve me? Wait, you're no Magister. You're a sorcerer. What are you doing here, filthy red scale? Choose your words carefully. My fists ache to meet a new face.
Sorry, I kind of... I got distracted there for a second. This here is a persuasion. You can see here is a wits, constitution, or finesse persuasion. Honestly, the persuasion stat itself is more important than the actual accompanying stat, and there are some that will just never work. So you often have to read what they're talking about. We'll do constitution, why not? Tell him you heard yelling coming from above. He needs to go up there. Success.
Damn. If it's not one thing, it's another. And no way I can trust those fools to deal with any nonsense on their own. Can't leave the prisoner alone, though. He's been nothing but trouble, I hear.
I'm actually going to open the trade window. It's very metagamey of me, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to trade with him for 1 gold. Give him a bucket. You'll see why in a second. Remark on the sturdiness of the cell bars. The prisoner's not going to go anywhere.
That's all I needed to hear. Just don't let that caged rascal fool you. You can't trust him as far as you can throw him.
Alright. I am actually going to equip this knife, and I am going to kill this Magister. Because I don't like Magisters. I'm not exactly going to be a good guy throughout this playthrough. The Red Prince doesn't really necessarily go well with the whole good guy mechanic. He's kind of an asshole, and I'm going to play him as such. Alright, frozen. That's good. I don't have enough AP, so I'm just going to skip. You can see that oil catches fire pretty easily. Crime scenes. Some crime scenes, like murdering or stealing, leave a crime scene. Even if nobody... Oh. Even if nobody saw it, someone will come and investigate it if someone sees you. Now, the reason I got so much stuff off him is because I actually opened up the window beforehand. It's a weird thing about the tutorial area, is if you trade with his guards, if you kill them and or they die, you get all the stuff that they would have traded you. Which is really good to know, because it gives you a lot of extra money at the start of the game, which is quite nice. Also, keys. You can't sell them and you can't get rid of them, so they start filling your inventory. I know which ones I need and which ones I don't, so I'm just going to be throwing them away. It may look kind of haphazard to the average viewer, but I do kind of know what I'm doing.
The prisoner's buoyant voice darkens as his eyes rest on yours.
Ah, freedom. Tastes better than wine. I'm nothing if not a man of my word. And I did give my word I'd set you free, lad. Say your prayers while you've breath to speak them. The halls await.
He's going to throw a fireball. Which does some fairly significant damage. I, however, can freeze him. And Mosquito Swarm him, which will heal me. Mosquito Swarm, by the way, will heal you when you do damage. I'm also just going to be healing passively whenever I deal damage as well, simply because I have Necromancer skills. He's not going to be able to get to me. How long am I on fire for? Another turn? I will put myself out of fire. Restoration is a healing spell. It'll also get rid of a lot of different types of status effects. I'm just going to set the floor on fire here, because when he runs at me, he's going to have to run through this fire. Oh, god damn it. He didn't quite have to run through the fire, but what you going to do? Let's see. Let's run to here. I'm going to stab him. I'm going to sucker punch him, which will knock him down. I'm going to hit him again. So the basic way that this combat works, this is as good a time to explain as any. You have your skills that you can use, such as Mosquito Swarm. You have a basic attack. I have a dagger, so my basic attack is just a stab. Simply like that.
What would he have to gain by killing me? I need to keep my guard up.
God damn. Malachite, that's not bad. And there are plenty of status effects, like being frozen or being knocked down, and those status effects are prevented by using magic armor and physical armor. You can see now in the top left, I have 44 health, and I have 2 physical armor, which means that if someone tries to knock me down, for instance, and doesn't do enough damage to get rid of my physical armor, I won't get knocked down. I'll resist the knockdown. Oh, hang on. Did I not get the key off this guy? Oh yeah, I dropped the key I needed.
Good find.
I know what I'm talking about, yeah. I know when I can drop these keys. Now I can drop the keys. That's alright. So now I can drop the keys. I just need to open that door. I can't remember which key is which, so... Again, I'm going to be looting here fairly significantly, just because there's a lot of stuff in this early game area that gets you a lot of money starting out, which is useful. It may make this tutorial take slightly longer than it would otherwise, but also, this poison stuff is flammable. And there's a candle here. I can just move the candle onto the poison. Blow up the fire. And which ultimately blows up the door and allows me to walk through. Oh. Thanks for walking through the fire there, Red Prince.
What a mess I've made. Someone will be along to clean up, I'm sure.
I do enjoy the Red Prince. We're now back where we started.
And I'm back where I started. I know where to go but up.
There we go. Yes, we can leave the tutorial deck. So this first episode I'm going to get out of the ship essentially and get to Fort Joy. We'll see what we're doing time-wise at that point. I think, honestly... probably just get to Fort Joy, in all honesty. Because this does take a bit of time. I'm picking up the crucial things here. Not worrying about the rest. Potion bottles are quite good. So if I can get them, I'm going to take them.
Why, you're looking a bit more chipper. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There you are. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash.
I'm actually going to trade with her. Just to get some money, because I don't need any of that food.
In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters.
Pull the thing around your neck futilely. Demand to know why she's collared
Why,
you.
for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens.
I recall the power building inside me. The stare that enthralled the demon, and I will
Currents of
unleash it.
magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the earth.
My, look at the concentration on your face. All will, but no result. There you have it. See? The collar's function. It neuters you of sorts. Makes you unable to cast source.
Source muted.
For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
Now that you're up, you'd like to bathe and dine. Tell her to ring for the servants.
Oh dear, I'm afraid you're a long way from home, milord. A long way from the little bells that make footmen come a-running.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, and if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good.
I'm not going to tell her that I killed those other people. Probably not the best of ideas. I don't think it actually functionally matters, but...
Good gods! There's been a murder here!
A young magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
Clearly doesn't like sorcerers.
Behind the magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
What happened?
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does.
I wouldn't trust a magister to get to the bottom of a butter dish.
If you have nothing to hide, I'm sure it'll go just fine. Bloody lizard.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this.
Inform her that she wasn't this man's protector, she was his captor.
Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of,
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course.
Ask if she's investigating her fellow magisters as well. One of them could have easily done this.
Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister.
Interesting.
It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that?
Tell her your price is considerably higher than that.
Not in here, it isn't. You let me know if you hear anything. Whoever did this is dangerous.
Interesting. So there are murders most foul, as it were. Again, we're gonna loot everything because that's what I'm like. 4 gold, see? Well worth it. Now, useful things here is a bedroll. That specifically is quite useful. I need to rearrange this in general, but... Bedroll is specifically useful because it will heal you and give you the rested buff, as you can see here. Adds 1 to strength, finesse, and intelligence, so it's quite useful. Sucker punch. Go there. Fire breath. Heal, you can go here.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
That'll do. I'm not going to speak to all of these characters, mainly because I want to kind of streamline the experience slightly. And since I'm not actually playing through as all these characters, I don't want to talk to them all. I will, however, speak to Los, simply because she is going to be my other companion, I've decided.
Ah, there you are. Husband. Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not-at-all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this loser woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly allergical.
Play along with her and grab her by the arm with a grin. Tell the children they must be mistaken.
How very correct you are, spouse of mine. Madame Josephine Gribbles de Peeb refuses to be confused with anyone else. What? What's so funny?
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and git, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we?
So that's true enough. Shake her hand. Lucy, you presume.
You presume right.
Ask her if she knows anything about the murder that happened on board.
Nope. Trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better.
Tell her she ought to have a look around with you. You could watch each other's backs.
Thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too soft for it. You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
So there are the children here and a few other people that have interesting note, but I'm not going to talk to any of them. I'm going to talk to the Magisters. So you're commonly called by your title, the Red Prince.
Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, eh? We're trying to catch a killer here.
And again, I'm going to open up the trading window, because when... Spoilers, they die very soon. You get all of the stuff that they would have been trading. Also, beer sells for a bit, so I'm going to take this.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
And so do these bedrolls. Unfortunately, they also go onto my hotbar.
They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you
Shut up.
Mad?
Mad? Insufferable, surely.
My prince.
The cook bows slightly and wipes her hands on her gruel-stained garb.
Forgive me, your highness. I didn't expect... Well, anyway, whether I had more than cornmeal and rotting roots to serve, I'd concoct something more fitting for one of your stature.
Wave her away. You've no time for such groveling.
She averts her eyes and nods quickly before returning to her duties.
As I said, I'm going to play the Red Prince pretty much how I see the Red Prince, which is a dick that's kind of... Like, he's not evil, but he's not exactly a nice dude either.
Lucky find.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer. Go take your sob story somewhere else.
Very well. That greasy key opens this greasy door, as you might imagine. After you've done that, the key is useless, so you can drop it. I'm going to take this stuff. I just ate that by accident, but, you know, what you going to do? Most of this stuff, by the way, is just straight sell stuff. Like, I'm not really going to use any of it. It's just good to have because you can sell it. I think that scroll is always in there, which is nice to know.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
And a healing scroll is... I mean, I already have the skill, so I'm probably going to sell it, but...
Here to register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far?
Ask if he'd be fine, collared like a dog and stuck in a ship's hold with a corpse and a murderer on the loose.
He tugs the collar of his uniform and chuckles.
Sorry you're upset, sir, but we all wear what we wear for a reason. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
Keep those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot her kill. It was one of them.
You seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter?
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
This may be the perfect opportunity to create a mutiny. Tell the woman you stand by her.
No, I'm afraid I always perform my part solo. Do stay and watch, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
This isn't really a fight. She just blows shit up. This is where all hell starts to break loose.
What's happened?
As you can see there, we get a bunch of items. Notably, we get... Sorry. There we go. We get a wand and a shield, which is what I want. That gives me some magic and physical armor, which is really, really nice, as well as a ranged weapon damage. Alright. So, I'm just going to grab a few things here that are worth some money. That's a shirt, that's useful. So we're getting some armor at least. Anything else? Not really. Okay, it's just a healing tea. Tea, there's like a bunch of different types of tea in this game, and some of them are just like oddly overpowered. It's really quite strange. Some of them will like give you additional heal, some will give you fire resistance, some will give you all sorts of shit. But I am actually going to... Whoops. I obviously picked up a plate before rather than the fish. I'm going to come back here, and we're going to see the carnage around us. These magisters that we just talked to are all dead. And coming out here, we can actually loot them. And doing so gets us a lot of stuff.
The young woman lies in a heap on the floor. She's breathing normally, but her eyes are wide open, like those of a corpse. Dark, greyish-black clouds swirl through them.
Call that to her. Wake up!
She doesn't stir.
That is the same with all of the NPCs on this boat. You cannot wake them up now, unfortunately. Nemiaya is also dead, unfortunately. But as you can see, they have a fair amount of stuff on their corpses, and the reason they have so much on their corpses is because I traded with them. They ordinarily don't have anywhere near as much stuff on their corpses, which is why you should trade with all of them. As you can see there, lots of stuff. Also coming back here, we get a chunk of flesh, which will come in handy later. As weird as that is. Elves can eat limbs to experience the memories of the person, blah 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 blah. Essentially, if you're an elf, you can eat flesh, and doing so will give you the memories of the person. It's very, very weird, and it's something I love about the lore of this game. And as you notice, we're not an elf or a lizard, but there is ways that I can get around that later on, so I'm going to keep that, because specifically some of them also give you skills, which is good to know. Again, I'm going to be looting the important things to loot.
Damn! Thank the gods! By the fine grace, what was...
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer!
The Magister's companion doesn't blink, frozen in place at the sight of you.
Finger your collar. You can help them if you can get this stupid device off of you.
Even if I knew how to rip that thing off, I wouldn't. Some crazy banshee comes screaming through, and now we got void bugs swarming up top. Sorcerer mutiny!
He whispers loudly to the other Magister.
Don't just cower there, Rix. Take out your blade.
Rix grabs his sword, which shakes in the rhythm of his trembling hand.
That's right, there is a mutiny. If you want to see your families ever again, you'll stand down. Failed. Need 2 persuasion to do it.
Look to each other, then back to you, and
your lies end here. Get
Oops,
him.
I cut that off by accident. I should be able to kill these two without much trouble. I'm not particularly worried. 11? I should be able to get rid of all his magic armor. Yep. Which had him chilled. Unfortunately not frozen, but what you gonna do? Still got an attack off. Alright, so because I have a shield, I get this ability here called Shields Up, which will... I actually don't want it here, I want it over here, but... what that will do is restore physical and magical armor. Granted, not a huge amount, so I'm not too worried about it, but I will use it just to show it off. See there? I restore 8 physical armor. It actually restores it rather than adding on to it, so it's not like you'll get extra armor. But nevertheless, it's useful. I'm just going to wait a second for this fire to disappear. There we go. Again, I'm going to collect all... Whoop, where are you going? I'm going to collect all this stuff because it's all incredibly useful. There's a resurrection scroll in here. Yep. I'm not too worried about picking up notes. A lot of them are of not much consequence this early in the game. Later on they come useful, but for now, I don't really care. All these books and things I'll read later. In fact, I may not even read it all, to be perfectly honest. They do round out the world a bit, but I'm not sure if anyone would be interested in listening to all of these books. There's a dog here. If you have Pet Pal, you can actually talk to the dog.
Not long before this thing snaps into splinters.
Indeed. It's Fane up here. Apparently I can loot this from up here. That's useful, I suppose. You're not supposed to be able to do that, I don't think.
The marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You recognize the symbol immediately for what it is. A warning of death fog within. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The crimson drains from your hand, and you are left numb. It doesn't budge.
Use your key.
The door groans open, but an ashen shadow clouds your mind.
This here is Death Fog. As the name suggests, if you walk in it, you will die. The only exception being is if you're undead.
I need to get out of here now.
He won't automatically walk into Death Fog if you tell him to, I don't believe. It'll say, oh, I can't get there. Which is good, because it would suck otherwise. But it does have a really cool effect on it, as you can see there. It's like actually layered differently. Like the texture is like a flat layer over the top, which gives it this really cool look when you're moving over it. I really like the way they do this. Nevertheless, it is interesting that they were shipping Death Fog apart from anything else. Because it's essentially prohibited substance. As you might imagine, it's essentially a WMD. Don't you? Huh. I got a pair of panties. That's weird. Didn't even know that was an item in this game, but apparently it is. That was just random loot, by the way. Completely randomly I found them. I remember in the first Divinity, there was an item called Magic Underpants, which was like a psychic pair of underwear. That was always funny. Alright. So these guys are already wet, which will make them very easy to freeze. Just like that. Essentially the way the statuses work is they have 2 levels. There is chilled, and then there is frozen, for instance, with ice attacks. So if I hit them with one ice attack, they will be chilled. If I hit them with an ice attack while they're wet, or I get them wet while they're chilled, they will become frozen. Either way works. Since it's raining, these guys were wet. I hit them with an attack that would chill them, and therefore they freeze solid. That will only last 1 turn, so essentially it eats their next turn, is the way that that works. If I use fire on them, they will unfreeze, as you might imagine. Makes a lot of sense. Just end the turn there. Alright. Now, I can light this whole area on fire, which means they're going to have to run through fire to try and get to me, which is going to be helpful. Like this, as he takes damage as he goes through the fire. Now, they can attack me, but I think I have enough armor to survive anything they're going to throw at me at this point, to be perfectly honest. And like that, we take them out. Now, there's a few things that you arguably should do at this stage. One is save all of your comrades downstairs. There is a benefit to not doing that. However, I'm going to go save them. Because it's just... Ow. This here is kind of annoying, but I have magic armor, so I'm actually going to walk through the fire here. Interesting, this fire is still spreading. Now I have my magic armor back, I can walk through the fire again fairly easily. The reason being is that these guys usually have pretty good stuff. As you can see here, I got some legs, or some leg armor, which is useful. Yep, it's fine. There's also a wand here. And another guy here, which has some money. Once again, magic armor will stop me from actually catching on fire, which is good.
Children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
They said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
Good girl.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Call the dwarf a yellow-bellied coward. You'll return to the lower decks and check for survivors.
Thank you. There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight down.
Now, the Red Prince is a dick.
You're gonna be the death of us in here.
He certainly isn't a coward. That's for damn sure.
If you could walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a boost. Wait! Void Woken!
Void Woken! I think Sabile can probably take that one out, so I'm gonna go with this one. It's frozen. This combat takes ages, it's worth noting.
Won't sink the ship on my watch.
Because you have to go through all of these characters. Those should be fine.
Void Woken was supposed to be scary. Let the games begin.
I've faced worse.
Elemental arrowheads, even though you don't have arrows? Nope, he didn't. Amazing. Alright, sweet. These void hatchlings can have good items, but ordinarily they don't, so I'm not going to bother. There's dead sheep here, though. I'll take that lamb cutlet. Now, she is still alive down here.
It's Magister Siwan, the one who put on this damn collar. Sounds like she needs help.
Ordinarily I'd try and save her, but Red Prince. Of course it's Los who says there's no time. And leaves us on the boat. That level up there that we just got is the reason why it's beneficial not to go down and save them, because they all will survive on by themselves anyway. And I'll shut up here.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Interesting. But if you can pick up your second character before you get to level 2,
Honorable Dallas,
obviously you can level them up the way you want to.
Prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity,
High Judge Orifand. That is going to be it, guys, though. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, where we'll take on Fort Joy. Or at least the start of Fort Joy. I don't think we'll be able to get the whole thing done, obviously. It is fairly large. The first act actually does take a fairly long time, simply because you kind of have to do it in certain orders, simply because there are some fights that are kind of too hard, particularly on Tactician mode. If you're playing on Classic or Under, you should be fine, usually, but on Tactician mode, you kind of have to metagame it slightly, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Well, that was a bit of a rough and tumble journey. I suppose I'm the lone survivor. Which is entirely appropriate, if you ask me.
That's going to be it, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.